One day, there was a man people called Sensei and he worked as a writer. He was standing with a girl named Sakchan, who was his student and lover, in front of a river trying to perform a double suicide. They tied their hands together with a red string and said goodbye before dying. Suddenly, a fast-moving truck appeared and hit them, and on that day, a great writer and his lover were transferred to another world. Sensei woke up in the other world, not amazed or feeling anything, just quietly observing the place around him. Suddenly, a girl appeared holding a staff and said, "Welcome, adventurer. I'm here to guide people from the other world, and my name is Anit." She walked over to the window and said, "Look, this world is completely different from the one you came from, and you were chosen to be the hero of the world Zauberberg." A dragon passed by them at high speed, and Sensei wasn't amazed at all. Strange monsters were all around them. With frustration, he said, "So after I failed at the double suicide, I ended up in this weird world?" She said, "Yes," and Sensei laughed and said, "It was a life full of shame and failure." Then Anit told him, "Listen, hero, your mission is..." But before she finished, a bottle of sedatives rolled across the floor. She looked and found that he had taken a lot of them and was killing himself. She was shocked and used healing magic on him. He woke up and said, "Don't do that without my permission, you're bothering me." She got angry and told him, "What are you doing? Stop, adventurer. You're going to be a hero and fulfill your great mission and save the world." Sensei ignored her and picked up the sedatives on the ground, saying, "Mission? I don't care. I'm just looking for a place to die." She shouted at him for taking the sedatives and asked him why he was doing this, saying, "The world chose you." He laughed sarcastically and said, "I didn't ask anyone to choose me." She asked him in surprise, "Wasn't it the truck that came to you?" He remembered the truck that hit him while trying to die with Sakchan and said, "Yes." She relaxed and told him, "That truck that brought you here is the Otherworld selection truck. From among many miserable people in your old world, the truck chose you to restart your life in this one. That's the interworld transfer service we provide, and since the truck chose you, that's proof of your misery in the old world. But now you have a chance to let go of your old life." Without any interest, he didn't listen to her and kept eating the sedatives. When he finished, he got closer to her while laughing sarcastically and angrily said, "That truck ruined what was supposed to be the happiest moment of my life." He left her and asked, "Who are you to decide whether someone is miserable or not?" Anit couldn't believe what she was hearing. He was supposed to be happy now, after being saved from his miserable life where he was about to commit suicide. Then she thought to herself, "It doesn't matter, this human will definitely change his mind when he sees his stats. Because without a doubt, all humans who come to this world gain superpowers." When she opened his stats, she was shocked to see that he was the weakest human she had ever seen. Even his life points were low, and she noticed he was still poisoned even after her purification, and he should be dead by now. She tried to search the stats for any special skill or power, but found nothing. Sensei decided to walk away. Anit felt pity for him and held his hand, saying, "Wait, I'm really sorry. You're right. You must have come to this world by mistake. You don't even have the ability to survive here." He laughed as if he already knew what she was saying and said, "That's my life. I'm obsessed with failure no matter what world I live in." She got sadder and apologized for her world's mistake in bringing him here, and asked him to stay with her because if he went out, monsters would kill him since he's so weak. He told her, "Thanks, but don't worry, I'm looking for a place to die anyway." She was surprised that he was completely different from the ones she was used to. She remembered that once upon a time, she was proud to guide people who came to this world, but she got used to seeing narcissists or people doing great things easily, like pulling a legendary sword from a stone. So her heart closed off, and she became a woman who praised heroes over and over. She threw her staff to the ground and ran after Sensei before he left, telling him to at least accept a profession. He laughed and said, "I've been a writer since I was born, nothing more or less." She dropped to her knees in shock and felt like he was the man she had been waiting for. When Sensei left, he saw a sign written in a language he didn't understand and mocked himself, saying, "I can't read anything, and I know I won't find a cafe here." He kept eating his sedatives, and suddenly a voice in his head said, "Discovered location, Great Ears 10 Plains. Gained 5 experience points." He said, "I don't know who you are, but stop talking in my head. I've got a migraine." Suddenly, the voice said, "Adventurer level increased to 2. Then he heard a girl screaming and saw a tree falling. He stood there watching, and a tree monster tied her up. The girl said, "Are you an adventurer? Help me." But he just stood there blankly and thought about how everyone he saw had weird ears. Suddenly he asked her, "Can I write a novel about you?" She was confused by what he said and yelled at him to save her. Sensei approached the tree and tried to jump, but couldn't rise more than 2 centimeters off the ground. He laughed and said, "I can't reach you." She was shocked that he had no magic or even a weapon. Then the tree grabbed him by the neck. He laughed and said, "I can't breathe." She got even angrier because he was useless and laughed for no reason. She told him, "These death trees have the ability to absorb people's life force, so we'll die in a few minutes." He smiled and said, "That's good news." She was more frustrated, while he enjoyed the feeling of weakness and closed his eyes, ready to die. Suddenly, the tree absorbed his negative energy, rotted, and turned to ash. Sensei was disappointed he failed to die again, and a voice said, 300 poison damage from Adventurer. Adventurer defeated Death Tree. The girl was amazed that the tree absorbed his poison instead of his life force and wondered if he injected himself with poison. She told him, you pretend to be weak, but you're actually strong. He said, I've always wished to die and kept surviving. Up till now I've tried to die 5 times and none of them went how I wanted. She said, I don't know the reason for your despair, but thank you for saving me, and offered to take him home to thank him properly for saving her life. She asked for his name, and he said, people call me Sensei. When the girl held his hand, he saw the red string and remembered Sakchan. He wondered if she also came to this world. The girl thought he was talking about her and said, my name's not Sakchan, and before she could say her name, he left, and she got angry and followed him. Sensei thought he found a reason to live in this strange world, which was to search for his lover and then do a double suicide again. Sensei went back to Anit again. She was very happy to see him return but was shocked to see the girl with him and asked, who's this? But he ignored the question and said, I have a question. I'm looking for a girl named Sakchan. Do you know where she is? She was shocked that there was another girl in the picture. Sensei walked away with the strange girl who thought he saved her, and she tried to comfort him that he'd find the girl he was looking for. She grabbed his hand and pulled him toward Roth Castle so they could stay there tonight. Suddenly, Anit hit her hand with the staff and told her, don't hold his hand. The girl asked, do you love Sensei? Anit avoided the question and said, I don't love him. I have a responsibility to protect the weak guy who came from another world. The girl was surprised he came from another world and said, that's why he's so strong. Anit was shocked and said, there's no way he's strong. The girl told her that he killed the death tree in one hit to save her, and Anit was surprised he saved her. Meanwhile, in a parallel world, Sensei found a coffin and was so happy, saying, I found a nice place to sleep for a bit. Wake me up when we get to the city. Good night, Anit and Tama. The girl got mad and said, my name's not Tama, and she was upset that he said Anit's name correctly but not hers. Then Anit dragged him while he was lying inside the coffin toward the city. Sensei thinks about Sakchan and says to himself, I'll find you, Sakchan, and we'll die together. When they arrive at Roth Castle City, Sensei gets out and enjoys the look of the city and its atmosphere. Anit tells them, let's go to the first king's castle, and King Thomas and his daughter Princess Charlotte welcome them. He tells them they can sleep in the palace rooms tonight, and they're all very happy with his generosity and kindness. But he adds a condition. I love hearing adventurer stories more than anything. Share with me a memory from your travels. Sensei laughs and says, how about I tell you how it feels to sleep in a coffin? The king is shocked and thinks he's being threatened, but Anit saves the situation by saying, Princess Charlotte is really beautiful, and the king is pleased and tells them she'll be getting married soon, and asks for advice. He claps his hands for the guards and says, bring them in. Then Gomez the brave warrior and Otto the wandering love singer come in, and he tells them, because of the effect of the angry demon king, monster activity has increased lately, and I'm too old to deal with it, so I decided one of these two will marry Charlotte and become the next king. But she hasn't chosen yet, so what do you think? Who's more suitable? Sensei replies, I don't know. Your daughter's future depends on this decision. This isn't something to ask travelers who arrived today. You're a cruel and terrible king, or in other words, you're unfit to be a king. The king is shocked, and with total indifference Sensei adds, even so, I have no right to say that since I'm not fit to live in any world, and he walks off. Anit and the girl apologize to the king for what he said. The king forgives him because he's from another world. That night, Sensei is sitting by the window, and Anit wakes up and notices he can't sleep, so she asks him why. He says, I usually never sleep well. Then he leaves the room and finds Charlotte standing there. He says, the lake is so beautiful it makes me want to drown myself in it. The princess is surprised and asks, are you so troubled you want to die? He replies, you look more troubled than me. She goes silent, then sadly says, I don't know who to choose between Gomez and Otto. It hasn't been long since Gomez came to the castle, but he became the most trusted soldier among the troops, and my father trusts his strength, so maybe I should choose him. But Otto is my childhood friend. Every time I felt sad, he wrote a song and sang it to me. I don't know what I should do. Sensei laughs and says, unlike me, you're a really kind girl who cares about her father. My life is a series of misfortunes. I've tried to die so many times. I've caused a lot of trouble for my father and my family, but I never once asked anyone to choose my path in life. You have to decide for yourself what you'll do and what you want. Ask yourself that question. The next day, the king summons Sensei and the others and says, Charlotte has finally chosen who she wants to marry, and I want you all to witness it. Anit says, she probably chose Gomez for the kingdom's future, and the king tells Charlotte, stand in front of the one you chose. Charlotte starts walking and says, I asked myself what I really want many times, then she grabs Sensei's hand and says, I chose to do a double suicide with this man. The words hit the king like a thunderbolt, and Anit faints from what she heard. Princess Charlotte tells Sensei, after I talked to you, I thought all night and realized something. Every time I was sad, Otto wrote me a song, but when I thought about it, he also came when I wasn't sad and annoyed me all night. I think he just wanted to sing his new songs to someone, and I don't want to marry Gomez. He smells bad. Gomez is shocked. The king is flustered and tells Charlotte, don't be silly and choose your husband. She snaps back, you're the idiot. Why do you want me to marry someone without even asking for my opinion first? I don't want to get married at all. You didn't even think about my feelings. Sensei is the only one who did. She looks at Sensei and tells him, you're the only one who asked for my opinion and respected it. He laughs and says, I get it, that's why you decided not to marry and instead die with me. Suddenly, Gomez takes off his helmet and turns into a bull-like monster, furious at what the princess said. His true identity is revealed, and they find out he's a servant of the Demon King. He tells them, I was planning to take over this kingdom and gift it to the Demon King. I didn't think a mere princess would expose me. Sensei asks her, you knew his identity from the start? She replies, not at all. I said he smells bad because it's true. He looks at Gomez and says, she said it. Gomez gets angrier and decides to kill them since he doesn't need the throne anymore. The girl tries to wake up Anit, and the knights attack Gomez, but he's way too strong and defeats them all with a single hit. Tama jumps on him, hitting him in the face with her knee. Otto tries to sing and cast a boosting spell, but it doesn't work at all. Gomez charges at her with his horn, but she ducks and hits him in the chin, trying to break his horn. He hits her with his horn, and luckily she only gets a minor wound. Tama gets annoyed by his sharp, hard horn. Sensei calls Gomez a cow and says, sorry to interrupt, can you kill us first? Everyone's surprised, including the princess. He continues, she and I want to die. Can you kill us with your amazing horns? Since the princess is now free from her foolish father's control, her only wish is to die with me. Everyone is shocked by what he said, and Gomez is thrilled. The princess starts trembling in fear, and Gomez charges at them with great speed. The princess cries and says, I don't want to die. I want to live and protect my people. Sensei laughs and pushes her away, staying in front of Gomez. Just before Gomez reaches him, Anit wakes up and casts a barrier in front of Sensei. Gomez crashes into it, and his hard horns break. Tama quickly leaps at him and knocks him out of the castle with all her strength, and he lands in the lake. Then the king runs to Charlotte and drops to his knees, apologizing for everything he did to her and for not considering her feelings. Charlotte forgives him and says, from today, let me talk to you about the kingdom and about us. The king is overjoyed, and Sensei is upset he failed to die again. Later, Charlotte takes her father's place and becomes the first queen at only 16 years old. She takes it seriously and orders the kingdom's soldiers to protect the citizens from the monsters. On the other side, Tama and Anit are pulling the coffin with Sensei inside and continue on their way. Tama asks Anit how long until they reach her home. Anit tells her, your home in Gryon should be a few days away, but first we'll stop at the second academy. Tama asks her why, and Anit replies, because people from another world arrive at one of the 4 academies in our world, and they begin their journey to the Demon King's castle from there. But Sensei's goal isn't to defeat the Demon King, it's to find Sakchan. So we need to visit all 4 academies and gather information. Tama is shocked and asks, you mean if we're unlucky, we'll have to travel around the whole world? Anit replies, yes, is that a problem? Tama is stunned, and Anit continues, I don't want Sensei to face the Demon King or put himself in danger. I'm a failure of a guide for those from other worlds, aren't I? Tama gets annoyed and tells her, you really love Sensei, and Anit gets flustered and says, Sensei showed me the light when I'd lost hope in my job. Now it's my turn to help him. Tama asks her, what if Sakchan really is his lover? Anit is surprised and starts crying, saying, I'll investigate that. Tama decides to go with them until they reach her homeland. Then Tama asks Anit, will they even let you into the second academy after you left your place there? Anit replies, don't worry, the head of the second academy is a close friend, and I didn't leave my position without notice. I sent my resignation with my pet. Suddenly, a bat appears and bites Sensei's head. Tama asks, you mean this one? Anit is shocked it came back and asks it, did the letter arrive? The bat pulls the letter from its mouth, and she gets really mad that her resignation wasn't delivered. Sensei laughs and tells the bat, I'll call you Milos. The bat gets very happy, and Sensei leaves them and enters the coffin again. Then they notice Milos is scared of something, and they see birds flying away from something. Suddenly, a huge dragon lands in front of them and roars in their faces, terrifying them. A girl appears and tells the dragon, stop, Ryuka, and approaches him, placing her hand on him and speaking in a strange language. They're all shocked she tamed the dragon. The girl tells them, this place is dangerous and full of monsters, leave quickly. When she sees the coffin, she thinks they're carrying a corpse. Sensei comes out, and they tell her not to worry, he's just a weirdo from another world. The girl gets angry and says, I kill anyone from another world. A massive power bursts from her and she fires beams at them, which Anit barely blocks. But the girl's beams put so much pressure that they break the barrier. Anit and Tama get up with difficulty to protect Sensei. The girl crushes them with gravity, and they can't move. Then a mark appears on the girl's neck. Anit is shocked and says, that's the mark of the Demon King. Sensei stands up and tells the Demon Queen, enough dangerous behavior. I'm the one from another world. These girls did nothing wrong. And he approaches her and says, I'm your opponent. Do whatever you want. I'm ready to die anytime. She replies, understood, and thrusts her whole arm through his body. She walks away saying, my name is Waladelia, and Anit and Tama faint from the sight. Sensei laughs and says, you stabbed me. I know you have a lot of hate inside. I once wanted to stab someone too. I even sent them a threat letter. Waladelia is shaken and asks, what do you mean? He says, I lost my mind from all the hate. You feel like that too, don't you? He places his hand on her face while she trembles, and says, your eyes are sad. What's the reason? She quickly calls Ryuka, jumps on him, and escapes. Sensei loses consciousness after that. Milos transforms into a mat and takes them to the second academy. The guide in charge of newcomers there appears. Her name is Aisha. She's terrified when she sees her friend Anit injured, but Anit tells her, forget me, treat him first, referring to Sensei. Aisha shouts for someone to bring every healing potion in the place. The next day, Sensei stands in front of a merchant, buying the finest poisons. The merchant assumes he wants to use them against monsters, but Sensei surprises him by drinking it and Tama tries to stop him. Meanwhile, Aisha sits with Anit and thanks her for saving all of them and healing Sensei. Then Anit asks, do you know a girl from another world named Sakchan? Aisha replies, no, she didn't come to our academy, and angrily asks, why are you traveling with someone from another world? She adds, I was shocked when I heard you resigned without warning. You know no one who comes from another world is ever good. Suddenly, a guy from another world enters, rapping. His name is Kotaro, and his power is creating unlimited money. He tells them, I'll buy you anything you want. Aisha gets furious and throws the money in his face, so he runs off. Anit tells her, but Sensei is different from the rest. But Aisha doesn't believe her and says, he has the face of a destructive man. He'll ruin you if you stay with him. Anit replies, if it weren't for Sensei, I wouldn't be the person I am now. Sensei walks in and tells Anit, there's a medicine I want to buy, and she gives him all the money, telling Aisha, he's not destructive at all. Then Aisha asks, what ability did he gain? Anit replies, he doesn't have any ability, and yet he risked his life in front of the Demon Queen to protect us. Aisha is shocked and says, how? The Demon King was killed by someone from another world just last week. When Anit returns home and tells Tama the news, Tama is surprised and happy that peace has returned to the world again. But both of them wonder, who was that girl they fought? And they're also confused why Sensei came to this world if the Demon King is already dead. Suddenly, Sensei tears up the papers in front of him and lies down on the floor, saying, here lies a man who spent his life tearing out pages of his pen's mistakes. Carve that on my grave. Tama asks him in confusion, what happened? He laughs and tells her, I just thought I'd write about what happened since I came to this world, but I'm struggling to write, and now I feel hopeless because of it. Anit gets excited and asks him, what did you write about our first meeting? He replies indifferently, I didn't write anything about you. She's shocked, and Sensei says, when I met Waladelia, I felt a strange rush of inspiration. I hope something exciting happens again. Anit suggests they go to the city and buy him stuff. She buys him a huge suit of armor to protect him from demons. He feels happy sitting inside the armor, and they leave him to go shopping. People gather around, wondering why someone is sitting inside such a giant armor. Aisha sees him and is confused about what he's doing. Then she tells him, I want to talk to you. You're going to stay with me from now on. She's a very pure girl and trusts people too easily. Staying with someone from another world will only make her miserable, and I won't let that happen. Please leave Anit. Sensei replies, the decision is Anit's. You have no say in this. She's not a caged bird. And he asks her, why are you so sure she'll be miserable? Aisha answers, because you're from another world, and let me be clear, I never trust people from other worlds. Suddenly, a parade passes by with someone from another world named Suzuki. He tells everyone that the Demon King was defeated by people from another world. Everyone cheers for him, then he changes his tone to a dark one and says, but what matters is, who saved you from evil and brought peace to the world? We are the heroes. Kotaro says, and the city of Ville will now be under Suzuki's rule. Bow down, fools. Kotaro sees Tama and Anit and tells Suzuki they harassed him and used violence against him. Suzuki gets angry and says, violence against someone from another world? Anit tries to explain that's not what happened, but he doesn't listen. He walks toward her slowly and places his hand on her head. He tells her, be an obedient girl, and uses his ability called patting to turn her into his servant. Kotaro approaches and says, the purer the target, the faster they fall victim to the technique. Tama grabs him angrily and tells him, stop the technique right now. so Suzuki puts his hand on her head and turns her into a servant too. Aisha appears and tells him, "Stop what you're doing. I didn't teach you to use your powers like this, and the city of Ville will not bow to the likes of you." The people agree with her and demand that he leave. He tells them, "I'll destroy your city completely and build a new kingdom," and orders his beasts to attack the people. Before Suzuki leaves, he tells Aisha, "I'll use your academy as my castle." Suzuki's beasts start setting the city on fire with flames, and chaos spreads everywhere as everyone tries to survive. Tama attacks Sensei inside the armor and tries to break it. Sensei laughs and says to himself, "Anit was right when she said we don't know who might attack us." Suddenly, the armor breaks, and the helmet hits her on the head, knocking her out. Sensei puts her in a barrel and closes the lid so she doesn't hurt anyone. Suddenly, Anit crashes into the wall beside him. Aisha tells him, "You saw the truth of those from another world. He used his power only for selfish desires. He became greedy and unstoppable. And he wasn't like that when he first arrived in this world. He was quiet and weak and had no will." Sensei pulls out his notebook and writes her words down, saying, "Interesting, this man has stirred my senses." He asks her where he is. She tells him, "At the academy," and he walks off. She asks him, "Where are you going? You won't be able to handle him, you're too weak." Sensei replies, "I'm going to write a masterpiece." Aisha decides to go with him. When they reach the academy gate, Aisha warns him because Suzuki is far stronger and has dangerous beasts. Sensei pulls out his poison bottle, and she feels like he has a plan and feels relieved. Suddenly, he drinks it in front of her, and she's shocked. They go inside, and Suzuki asks Aisha, "You asked for help from this man?" Sensei replies, "Hello, glad to meet you. I'm someone interested in you and want to write a novel about you." Suzuki becomes full of pride and likes the idea. He tells him, "I'll let you write about the hero Suzuki who conquered another world." Sensei replies, "No, I'll write about a man who gained more power than he deserved and drowned in his greed. Your deep human experience intrigued me." Suzuki gets angry and commands his wolves to attack. Aisha stands in front of Sensei while he writes, not caring about the wolves attacking. Most of them are stopped, but one grabs her staff. Suzuki orders the other wolves to shoot fireballs. Suddenly, the helmet from the armor appears and blocks the fireballs. Milos is inside the helmet, and Sensei thanks him for saving him. Suzuki gets angrier and orders a much stronger beast to attack Sensei. The beast bites Sensei, but suddenly, the poison in Sensei's blood transfers to it, and it dies. Kotaro gets scared and runs off. Suzuki refuses to give up and brings out Anit as his final trump card. He orders her to attack them. Anit pulls out her dagger and attacks Aisha. Aisha blocks the strike and tries to call out to her to wake her up. She loses hope and tells Sensei, "We can't fight Anit, we need to retreat." Sensei walks toward Anit and tells Aisha, "Anit isn't as weak as you think." He approaches Anit while she's pointing the dagger at him and says, "I know you're not a caged bird." Anit grabs the dagger with her other hand and stops herself from attacking. Suzuki pressures her, but she focuses on Sensei's words. Suddenly, she stabs her own leg with the dagger, and before she falls, Sensei catches her. Anit regains her consciousness, and Aisha rushes to heal her. Suzuki drops to his knees in shock, unable to believe his technique was broken. He grabs the dagger quickly, and just before he kills himself, Sensei grabs his hand. He tells him, "Don't worry, didn't I tell you I'm writing a book about you? I won't let you end the story early. Tell your story." Suzuki trembles and remembers his old life when his name was Bushi and his classmates bullied him at school. He says, "I was always shy. They were stronger than me and treated me like a pet. I thought about dying many times, but I didn't have the courage to do it. One day, while heading home, a truck hit me and I came to this world and met Aisha. Then I went to the forest to train and fight monsters, and that's where I tamed my wolves. But even in this world, people treated him badly. Unlike his old life, this time he was stronger, so he destroyed everyone who treated him badly." He tells Sensei, "I was the one who suffered constant failure in my old world and suddenly gained power and became a hero. But do you all think I'll save a strange world like this one? And yet I even failed at being evil. Whatever world I live in, I'll remain a nobody with a weak will." Suddenly, Sensei says, "Wonderful," and Suzuki is startled. Sensei continues, "The inspired novel is complete. This is the story of a miserable man who hoped to live as a hero in this world, but couldn't become a hero or even a villain because of his weakness, and I'll title this novel, No Longer Allowed in Another World." Suddenly, his notebook activates and papers fly out of it, surrounding Suzuki. Sensei tells him, "But unfortunately, I can't call this my masterpiece," and he pulls one paper from those surrounding Suzuki. The rest ignite, and a magic circle appears. Anit is shocked that it's a magic circle that will return Suzuki to his original world. Anit opens Sensei's status screen and tells Aisha, "I'm sure he had no abilities, but now an ability called writing has appeared." Aisha concludes that Sensei has a power that only activates against those from another world. Sensei lies down on the floor, feeling hopeless because he didn't write what he truly wanted, and strangely, he asks them, "Where did Suzuki go?" Anit replies, "You just sent him back to his world." Meanwhile, the wolves attacking the city regain their consciousness and walk away, and Tama comes out of the barrel, angry because she doesn't know who put her in there. At the same time, Aisha and Anit return to the academy. Aisha tells Anit, "There's a chance Sensei has an important role in this world's future, and for sure, your adventure will be difficult and dangerous, and that's why you must support him. I know you can do it." Anit is happy and replies, "Definitely." Before Anit and Tama take Sensei and leave, Aisha asks him, "Did Suzuki become like that because he gained more power than he deserved?" He laughs and replies, "I don't know." She asks, "Will he return to his world and live a miserable life again?" Sensei replies, "It's true that the story of hero Suzuki ended in this world, but it hasn't ended in his world, and it's up to him whether he becomes a masterpiece or not." Aisha feels reassured and says goodbye. The next day in the Sontag region, Aisha teleports using a magic circle. There, she meets another academy head like her, named Wolf. He tells her, "You're lucky the demis live within your jurisdiction. I suffer every day with the dwarves and their awful smell." Another head named Elton enters and tells him, "Don't speak in a racist way against the races in a papal state." Wolf replies, "Sorry, you're not the first non-elf to be appointed as a head." Elton responds, "This has nothing to do with race. Many elves behave improperly toward others of their own kind." Wolf gets upset and tells him, "You're lucky your region is always peaceful." Elton replies, "You're the one who needs to fix your attitude." Then the head of heads, Miller, enters and tells them to sit. We'll begin the meeting. As they sit, the substitute head for ANIT in the Years 10 Academy arrives, falls to the ground, clearly flustered, then rushes nervously to sit in her chair. Miller asks each of them to introduce themselves and report on their regions. Arya, ANIT's replacement, starts and says there's no report from her region. Miller asks, "I heard Charlotte, daughter of King Roth, inherited the throne." She stammers and says, "That's right, I'm sorry." Then Elton says, "I'm the head of the Verten Academy. My region is calm and peaceful, and we face no issues." After him, Wolf, the head of the Durton Academy, says, "My region is remote, but we manage well." Miller replies, "I heard there are many conflicts among the dwarfs." Wolf answers, "That's normal. They even beat me up when I was taking over power." Finally, Aisha introduces herself and says, "In my jurisdiction, someone from another world went berserk and destroyed half the city. We're currently working on rebuilding." Miller tells them, "I summoned you today to discuss the presence of people from other worlds. As I said in my letter, the Demon King was defeated by a group of people from another world. As a result, the ruler has decided to seal the magic circles connecting our world to others and stop the summons." They all get excited at the thought that the Demon King is finally gone after a long struggle. Miller continues, "The 7 who defeated the Demon King took over his territory and became its rulers. Recently, the ruler received a proclamation that said, 'With our power, we will turn the lands of Zauberberg into a utopia.' Everyone gets upset by this news." Miller adds, "The ruler is very disturbed, and it's understandable. He believed those who came from another world were here to save us and gave them all his trust, and now they've turned on him. Either way, we can consider this a declaration of war, not to mention Waladelia, the Demon King's daughter, who disappeared from the castle. We can't ignore her. In short, Zauberberg has entered a new era. Overcoming hardships and protecting peace is our mission." They all become tense and fearful of the mountain of problems ahead. Aisha thinks about what Sensei did and tells them, "There's a way to defeat those from other worlds. I met someone from another world who used his ability to send another person from another world back to theirs." They're all shocked that such an ability even exists. The ruler enters and asks Aisha, "Is this true?" They all bow, and he says, "This person might be our only hope. Can you tell me more about him?" Elsewhere, Anit and Tama are standing at the entrance to a city. Tama is surprised that her level increased from dragging Sensei's coffin. A boy appears and tells them there's a cafe at the end of the road. Anit thanks him for guiding them. He asks, "Do you want information to help in your adventure?" and tells them about the hero dispatch service for summoning people from other worlds. They're assigned to protect groups of travelers. Tama starts thinking about all the other worlders they've met so far and feels confused. He asks her, "What's wrong? People from other worlds are heroes. They're going to save our world. How about we make a deal right now? I'll get you a hero for 40,000 Jiniko." Tama refuses, but suddenly Anit pays him. Tama yells at her for the high price, but Anit says, "That's a cheap price for protecting Sensei." The boy touches the coffin and says, "Life is precious. Surely the dead person here needs protection." Sensei suddenly emerges and says in a scary tone, "Excuse me, but I'm still alive." The boy freaks out, and Sensei tells him, "I wish for death, but I'm still alive." Tama tells the boy, despite his looks, Sensei is a hero. The boy doesn't believe her because Sensei looks pale like a real corpse. He snatches the money from Anit's hand and runs, saying, "My name is Nier. I'll bring you a real hero. Wait for me at the cafe." Tama gets excited that if a hero comes, she'll get a break from dragging the coffin. Anit replies, "I won't let a stranger take on this task." That night, Anit watches Nier from the cafe's doorway. The cafe keeper asks, are you staying or not? Anit replies, just a moment, please, we're waiting for someone. Sensei tells her, that kid isn't coming. The cafe keeper asks, you're waiting for a boy named Nier? Don't tell me you gave him money. Anit says, yes. He told us he'd bring us a hero. The cafe keeper replies, that's his usual trick. There's no way he's assigning you a hero. Anit is shocked she was tricked. Sensei asks her, who even is that boy? The cafe keeper says, he's an orphan who's lived in this city for a while, earning a living by scamming visitors. And there's no adult to scold him. He causes trouble for the whole town. I sometimes pity him, and those so-called heroes he talks about don't even exist. If such great people were real, why don't they save him? How long is he going to keep living like this? Meanwhile, Nier is sitting in the street when someone covers his face and kidnaps him. They take him to a location and count the money he has. Nier asks, what are you going to do to me? They smile wickedly, and he says fearfully, my friends from another world won't let anything happen to me. They laugh and each activates their ability, saying, we're from another world too. Nier is shocked, and one of them shows him his power to create a weapon that can pierce anything. He says, we heard you're using our name to collect money, and points the weapon at him. Nier wonders, are these the heroes that are supposed to save our world? Just before the weapon is fired, Sensei appears and turns the weapon toward one of the kidnappers. Then he says, there's no way people like you can be called heroes. One of the kidnappers uses his eye to analyze Sensei and tells his group, we have a problem. He's from another world like us, and strangely, he only has one hit point, and his body is poisoned. They all think Sensei is weak and regain their confidence. One of them tells him, you scared us, your punishment is death. Sensei gets excited, and the kidnapper is shocked to see Sensei's life points increasing. Sensei approaches them and draws a heart on his chest, saying to the one with the weapon, aim here. They all get scared and run away from him. Sensei is annoyed he didn't kill them. Nier asks him, are you a hero? Sensei replies, I'm nothing that grand, and leaves without untying him. The next day, they're preparing to continue their journey when Nier suddenly shows up. Tama gets angry seeing him because he tricked them, but he tells them, I didn't lie to you. Didn't I say I'd bring you a hero? I'm the hero, and joins them. The next day, Sensei, Anit, and Nier are in a cell. Nier says, they took Tama to a different cell. Were we arrested because of her? They arrested us the moment they saw her. She must have committed a terrible crime. Anit gets angry and replies, no way, Tama would never do that. Suddenly, Sensei asks, how do they execute people in this world? She refuses to answer because of the joyful expression on his face. Then Nier pulls out a pin and unlocks the cell door, telling them, let's get out of here. Anit looks at him with disdain and says, that's not a skill of a brave warrior. Sensei puts his hand on Nier's shoulder, and Nier thinks he'll praise him, but instead he says, why did you interfere and do that? I want to be executed. Suddenly, the guards see them and tie them up, and they're taken to the king. Bearyard, the king's aide, tells them, you committed a terrible crime, and for that, you'll be executed. Sensei is thrilled, while Nier and Anit are terrified. King Siberian tells them, you kidnapped Princess Matilda, and execution is the proper punishment. They're all confused about which princess they supposedly kidnapped. Suddenly, Tama bursts in angrily and tells the king, they didn't kidnap me. They're shocked to learn she is Princess Matilda. She continues, I told you I was traveling to other countries to improve my combat skills, and I met them. She asks him to release them, but he refuses and says, if you do what I say, I'll release them. Swear you won't do anything reckless again and that you'll act like a member of the royal family, like your mother, Labama. Matilda is upset and looks at them, then turns back to the king and swears as he asked. She apologizes to her friends, saying her journey with them has ended. They later go to a restaurant in the city and talk about what happened and how shocked they were to learn Tama is a princess. The waitress overhears them and asks, you know the princess? They tell her, yes, we traveled together. She says, my name is Kojika, and I used to serve Princess Matilda in the palace. Sensei asks her to tell him Matilda's story. She asks, you want to know the princess's past? He replies, when I first met Tama, she was hanging from a tree, and now her father locked her up in the castle. I think she's fascinating. It's hard not to be interested in her. Kojika agrees to tell him everything she knows. Meanwhile, Matilda is in her room looking out the window. Suddenly, she sees someone standing on a rooftop releasing a dark mass with sharp teeth that destroys a part of the castle. The king and the guards rush in and find that person sitting on the king's throne, saying, so this is Gryon, the land of many hybrid creatures. I haven't eaten a hybrid woman yet. I wonder what her flesh tastes like. The king angrily asks, who are you? He replies, I'm Kaibara, one of the heroes who defeated the Demon King. The king asks, what are you doing here? Kaibara responds, obviously, I came to eat this entire country, and the teeth appear behind him. The guards rush to attack him, but with a snap of his fingers, the teeth appear next to them and devour them. Kaibara spits out the blood and says, they taste awful. I want women, their meat must be better. The king tells the remaining guards to retreat and removes his armor. Kaibara uses his teeth to eat rocks and fires them at the king. The king lifts a huge rock to block the attack and kicks the darkness back at him. The king quickly charges at Kaibara and creates an electric strike. Kaibara screams in pain but laughs wickedly and says, "Just kidding." He tells the king, "That might have killed an average person, but my body is hard because I just ate some golems, rock monsters." The king removes the metal from his arm and creates a massive charge in his palm. Beryard is surprised the king intends to kill him instead of capturing him. Just before the king strikes, Matilda appears. Kaibara gets excited to see a hybrid woman. Matilda realizes this is the same person she saw on the rooftop. Before she can enter, the king stops her and says, "Don't think you can take Leon's place." Meanwhile, Kojika tells Sensei and the others that Matilda had a twin brother named Leon. He was supposed to inherit the throne. Everyone believed the kingdom would be peaceful with both a prince and princess. But one stormy night, 10 years ago, a landslide hit their path home, and Prince Leon and Queen Labama suddenly vanished from this world. The king spent a long time grieving and was devastated, so Matilda decided to give up her role as a princess and take Leon's place. But against her wishes, what she did created a rift between her and her father. At the same time, the king tells Matilda, "Your combat skills are useless." Matilda gets angry and jumps at Kaibara. He opens his teeth next to her midair, and just before they close on her, the king saves her, but his arm gets severed. Matilda gets even more furious and jumps again, but Beryard intervenes, knocks her unconscious, and escapes with her. They land in front of Sensei and the others outside the restaurant. He tells them what happened and that Gryon Castle was attacked by someone from another world. Suddenly, they all hear an explosion. The townspeople gather and see the king defeated and bound. Kaibara introduces himself to the people and declares himself the new king. He tells them, "Don't worry, I only came here for one thing. I want to taste the flesh of all the different hybrid creatures that live here, especially women and children." One of the citizens throws a rock at him and shouts, "Get down, you lunatic." Kaibara opens a mouth with teeth beneath the man and devours him. Everyone is terrified, and the king is devastated, but he's gagged and helpless. The people try to escape, but Kaibara has placed monsters that once served the demon king all over the city. Sensei laughs and speaks to the unconscious Matilda, "Your father locked you up, and now you're the princess of a fallen city. You're truly the heroine of disasters." But Tama, the heroine I'm looking for, doesn't accept tragedy or surrender. "Open your eyes and show me the rest of the story." After a while, Matilda wakes up and asks, "What happened?" When she hears the news, she gets furious, and just as she's about to recklessly charge, Beryard grabs her. Kojika stands in front of her and tells her, "Even the king couldn't stand up to him. You won't be able to do anything." Matilda sadly says, "My father was defeated because he was protecting me, and I carry the responsibility of this kingdom in my brother Leon's place. This is my problem to solve." Anit responds, "The Clolan Pass disaster. Kojika's story reminded me of that horrible incident that took 2 members of the royal family 10 years ago. I didn't expect it was your mother and brother. I heard not a single citizen didn't cry for them, and nothing is stronger proof than that to show the people love the royal family. If they lose you too, they'll fall into despair. Leave this to us. As princess of this kingdom, you must not risk yourself." Anit reassures her that they have a secret weapon to defeat those from another world. Sensei tells them, "Let's go." When they reach the palace gate, they find 2 golems guarding it. The golems tell them, "We have orders to kill anyone who comes near." Sensei approaches and tells them, "We came here to be eaten." Everyone is shocked, and Sensei continues nonchalantly, "I was really moved by the new king. I'm always thinking about death and how to die, but it never occurred to me to be eaten before. Tell your king that someone has come to be devoured." The golems are confused and hesitate to report it because it's so unexpected. In the end, they take them to the cell. Sensei lifts Nier's hat, pulls out a pin, and tells him, "Your turn." In the past, Matilda was watching her brother Leon training with their father to become stronger. But Leon was too soft-hearted and timid, and that was the issue their father had with him. Matilda called out to her father and asked him to teach her how to fight like her brother. He was surprised that she was even watching them and yelled at her for not acting like a princess, ordering her to go back to her room, put on a dress, and read a book. Back in the present, Matilda returns to the castle to face Kaibara. Kaibara says to the king, "I figured my main dish would arrive quickly if I used her father as bait." He decides to enjoy the fight with her before eating her. He kicks a corpse at her with full force, but Matilda dodges it. He then charges at her using her father's lightning strike and knocks her away. She's shocked that he used her father's technique. He says, "This is my superior ability. Gluttony. I can acquire the special powers of the people whose flesh I eat." Meanwhile, Sensei, Anit, and Nier enter the queen's chamber and search around until Sensei finds a locked drawer. He tells Nier, "Your turn." When Nier unlocks it, they find a book, and Sensei gets excited. At the same time, Kaibara continues to torture Matilda with brutal blows. Matilda remembers when her brother was training in the forest and she asked him, "Why do you train all the time?" He replied, it's true I'm not strong and I don't like fighting, and you might be more talented than me, but I have to work harder than anyone to be as strong as father and be able to protect you, mother, and the entire kingdom. Matilda says again, and her father tells her, enough, you don't realize how much stronger he is than you. She replies, I know, but my brother Leon would never give up if he were in my place. Kaibara gets excited and says, I can say now that all the meaningless days I spent in my previous life led me to this moment. In my old world, I was practically dead. I was born in a mansion that looked like a fortress and my parents bought me everything. Every day I ate luxurious food, but my heart was empty. One day I had a thought. I want something to prove I'm alive. So I went and killed one of the servants, but my wish didn't come true. And of course it didn't. I was nothing more than a caged beast from the start. Everyone told me I was lucky, but I never saw it that way. I was the most miserable person in the world, until the truck hit me and brought me here, and now I can eat whatever I want. I'm no longer caged. He directs his teeth at Matilda, but before they reach her, Sensei steps in front of her and the teeth stop. Sensei says, that was such a boring story. I couldn't even stand to listen to it. Kaibara is shocked that his teeth aren't moving, they refuse to eat him. Anit threatens him, saying Sensei has an ability that sends people from other worlds back where they came from. She tells Sensei to use his ability and write Kaibara's story. Sensei replies, no, I won't write it. This guy is boring and not worth writing about. Kaibara gets furious and uses his lightning to blow up the whole place. Matilda feels guilty, blaming herself for all of it because she wanted to take her brother's place. She cries hard and blames herself. Sensei comforts her and gives her the book he took from the queen's chamber and tells her, I want you to read this story. Matilda opens the book and Sensei's ability activates. Papers fly out and swirl around her. Anit is surprised that his ability also affects people from this world. Sensei says to Matilda, the more I learned about your past, the more certain I became. You're too kind and always suppress your true feelings. That's why, when you were a child, you were bound by your father's image of the perfect princess, and that caused you distress. After the tragedy, you earnestly tried to lift your father's spirits by replacing your brother, who was the ideal prince. But no one understood your feelings. And instead of getting the result you wanted, the gap between you and your father widened, and in the process, you lost your true self. But your late mother told you what you were meant to be. Matilda remembers when her mother told her, your life belongs to you alone, live how you want. Matilda replied, but father won't allow that. Her mother laughed and said, I'll convince him, don't worry. Be confident that your father wants you to be happy too. Sensei continues, you're standing between two choices, to live the life of the perfect princess your father wants, or to live the life of the perfect prince in place of your brother, but neither path is yours. You are Tama. The swirling pages around her shatter and the barrier inside her breaks. A massive beastly aura bursts from her. The king is shocked and remembers when he was in the forest with Leon and saw the mark of the great beast appear on Matilda's hand. Back then, Matilda told Leon, don't tell father, he doesn't want me to learn to fight anyway. The king blames himself, thinking that's why the mark never appeared again after that day. Matilda gathers her energy, charges at Kaibara, and punches him hard. She leaps up and kicks him. Before he can strike back, she touches his stomach and activates a magic circle, then uses the royal claw technique to finish him. Anit rushes to heal her quickly. Sensei hands the king the queen's book. The king asks, did you read my wife's journal without permission? Sensei replies, yes. Are you going to sentence me to death again? The king tells him, no. I'm grateful to you for saving my daughter and guiding her. Suddenly, Kaibara stands up again, now transformed into a monster. Even he wonders why he's still alive. He remembers that when he killed the Demon King with the other heroes, he secretly ate some of his flesh and gained the Demon King's power. He feels an enormous surge of power and gets excited to destroy this world. Suddenly, Waladelia appears and cuts off his head. Kaibara says, good thing you came. I wanted to tell you your father's flesh was delicious. Waladelia blasts him with a huge wave of energy, obliterating him. Everyone there is terrified of her, except Sensei, who walks up to her. Waladelia is surprised and asks, why are you still alive? He asks, was that revenge for your father? Do you feel satisfied now? She replies, I'll kill you after him, and flies off on her dragon. Everyone is stunned he made her leave. Later, Sensei says, when I thought more about it, he was just a lost, sad man, and even after she killed him, the sadness never left her eyes. I want to write her story one day. The next day, Sensei and the others prepare to leave. Kojika says goodbye and asks them about Matilda. They tell her that Matilda chose to stay at the castle to support her father, and it was her decision, so there's nothing they can do. Meanwhile, Matilda is in her room when the king walks in and says, what are you doing here? This room is for proper princesses only. Aren't your friends leaving the city? You should go with them. I'm not so old that I need protection from a rookie like you, but come back here when your journey ends. Matilda smiles, jumps out of the window, thanks him, and says, I'll become strong and amazing like you when I return. Then she runs off to catch up with Sensei and the others. The next day, they head to the desert city of Samstag, suffering a lot from the extreme heat. But on the contrary, Sensei is really happy and wishes the blazing sun would turn him to ashes. Matilda asks Anit, "Aren't we going to cross this area yet?" Anit opens the map and says, "I don't know. I wanted us to reach Dryden School, but I'm not sure we can because we don't have experience in deserts." Near replies, "Exclude me from that no experience in deserts line. I'm actually from here," and gives them some info about the desert, like how the best time to travel is morning since at night there are monsters and bandits, but during the day it's safe. Suddenly, some bandits led by a man named Toro emerge from underground. With them are desert scorpions. Toro tells them they're about to enter the hunter's territory and that they need to pay a toll if they want to pass. Near notices their language is the one spoken by people from another world. Matilda starts attacking first, followed by Anit. The gang gets scared of them because they're strong, so Toro heads towards Sensei, thinking he's the weakest one among them. Near grabs his sword, but his whole body is shaking in fear. Toro tells him, "Looks like you've never held a sword before and you're scared." Near gets very upset because he's being mocked. Toro laughs and says, "Show me what you've got. But just so you know, if you draw that sword, it means you're ready to die. This scorpion's venom is really strong, you'll suffer for an hour and then die." Sensei gets excited and says, "Let me try that deadly poison," and the scorpion stabs its stinger into his heart while Toro injects the venom into Sensei. But the opposite happens. Sensei poisons the scorpion and turns it to ash. Toro gets furious and yells, "How dare you kill Chavez?" He charges at him, and Near tries to move but is frozen in fear. Suddenly, they hear a wolf's howl, and the whole gang panics and runs away. Anit treats Sensei, and Matilda notices Near is feeling down, so she tries to comfort him. Near apologizes to Sensei for being a coward and not protecting him. Sensei replies, "No one starts out as a hero, they become stronger after being mocked over and over." Anit says, "I'm feeling uneasy about that wolf howl we heard earlier. Show us the way, we're counting on you." Near takes them to the orphanage he grew up in before he began his journey. When the kids see him, they run to greet him. Kathy, the caretaker, is overjoyed to see him again. Kathy prepares a big feast for them and says the ingredients are really good thanks to someone who's been donating food lately. I want to thank him, but he never shows himself. Suddenly, Sensei interrupts and says, "The food is tasteless, don't you have any compound spices?" Of course, they don't understand what he's saying because it's a thing from his former world. Then, one of the kids named Nate asks Near, "Didn't you say you wouldn't come back until you became a hero?" Matilda gives him a sly look, and Near gets flustered and says, "You could say I've become a hero, and I'm in a group with a real hero." The kids get excited and ask where he is. When Near points at Sensei, they're surprised. Sensei replies, "I'm not a hero, I'm an author." That night, while the kids are asleep, Near checks on them. Anit tells him, "They're all so sweet." Suddenly, they hear the wolf's howl again. Kathy says, "That's a wild beast that's been roaming the area for a while. It's terrifying, especially with the kids here. You shouldn't go out there unless you want to die." Meanwhile, Sensei is already outside looking at tree marks scratched by the wolf's claws. After a while, Near wakes up and sees a shadowy figure moving fast outside the window. He grabs his sword, trembling, and steps outside to check. He's startled to see someone carrying a food basket. The man tries to explain that he's not a thief or suspicious person, and Near helps him pick up the food that fell, realizing he's the one secretly delivering food to the orphanage. The man says, "I love seeing the kids smile when they eat and are doing well." Near sits with him and learns that his name is Saito. Saito is surprised he hasn't seen Near at the orphanage before. Near replies, "I wander around, but I'm from here. My parents died when I was young, so I grew up in this orphanage. The sword I carry belonged to my father. I wander hoping to become a brave warrior worthy of wielding it someday. So if I become a warrior, they'll be proud to be from this orphanage. But it's hard because when danger comes, I'm not brave." Saito cries and tells him, "You're amazing. I'm sure if your parents were alive, they'd be proud of you. I wish I could be as kind as you." Sensei watches them from afar and writes a story. At sunrise, Saito thanks Near for the great time together. Near tells him, "Why don't you come have breakfast with us? The kids would love that." Saito replies, "That would be lovely, but I prefer to support them from the shadows." Near decides to spend more time with him, and they gather fruits and vegetables together, have a great time, and leave what they collected at the orphanage entrance, watching the kids react in surprise. That night, Kathy rushes in terrified and says, "Nate's been kidnapped." On the other side, Nate is with Toro, who took him as revenge for his scorpion that Sensei killed. He threatens to kill the boy if they don't pay the toll. They all go out to fight the gang, but Near is still trembling with fear. Saito appears and takes him to a safe place. Near cries and punches the ground, upset he couldn't protect Nate. Saito remembers his own past and gets furious. He tells Near, "Leave the rest to me and hide here. In my old world, I lost something dear because of my legs," and he throws away his crutches, adding, "But now I have strength." Suddenly, Saito transforms into a giant wolf. Sensei watches them from afar. Saito charges at Toro, who panics. Saito starts beating them one by one. Toro throws Nate and runs away, but Saito chases him. Nier remembers how Saito wished he could be kind and doesn't like seeing him act this viciously. Nier draws his sword, and just before Saito lands his claws on Toro, Nier blocks them with his sword and asks him to stop and be the kind man he wants to be. But Saito ignores him and chases Toro again. Nier insists and blocks every strike to stop him from killing and becoming a monster. Suddenly, Nier drops his sword and looks into his eyes. Saito remembers seeing that same look in his old world. He gets a sharp headache, falls to his knees, and reverts to human form. Afterwards, Saito sits with the others and says, I lived alone for a long time. I lost my family at a young age. But one day, a boy reached out to me. For the first time, I felt kindness from someone. But that happiness didn't last long. I saw his friends bullying him because of me. I raced away in my wheelchair to the road and got hit by the car that brought me to this world. If my legs worked, I could have saved him. Sensei replies, you let things turn out in your favor, didn't you? Were your legs really the reason you couldn't help him? You were looking for a valid excuse to cover for your mistakes caused by a weak heart. Nier gets upset for Saito and says, not everyone is strong like you. I understand how he feels because I always run away and lie because I'm a coward, but I try my best not to run next time and not to lose to myself. Saito thanks Nier for his kindness and says, but you're wrong about one thing. When I was about to mess up because of my ability, you risked your life to stop me even though you don't have great power. The title of brave warrior truly suits you. Unlike me, I'm a coward who only knows how to apologize. Sensei's book activates, and the papers surround Saito. Sensei tells him, you might be a cowardly man, but at the same time you're kinder than anyone. And to protect the orphanage, you threatened the villains by day and defeated monsters by night. Unlike the others who chase desires after gaining power, you chose to help people. He tells Nier, you taught me something. My arrogance made me portray him as a failure, and he tears the pages. Before Saito returns to his world, the kids gather around him and thank him for saving them. When he returns, he finds himself on the ground, the car that hit him already gone, and he's still alive. The boy who always treated him kindly helps him up from the ground, and Saito bursts into tears. The next day in the desert, there's a war between the dwarves led by Wolf and the lizards led by one of the people from another world and one of the 7 who defeated the Demon King. His name is Sengoku. Aisha yells at Wolf because of his unjustified calmness, so Wolf asks the dwarves' war leader, Doreen, to pull the troops east. When Doreen withdraws his forces, Wolf uses his wind scythe and creates a massive tornado that throws the lizards, so Sengoku retreats. Suddenly, Aisha sees Sensei inside Wolf's tornado. At night, the dwarves and Wolf celebrate their victory over the lizard army. Aisha tells Anit, I didn't expect to see you here again. Anit replies, we've been through a lot, got stuck in the desert, and suddenly found Sensei inside the tornado. Aisha asks her, how is he doing now? Anit replies, he's fine. We were lucky he was inside the coffin at the time. Then Sensei appears and tells them, what's lucky about that? It was unlucky I was in the coffin. He pulls out a broken piece of the coffin, sad that it got damaged. Anit tells him, I'll buy you another one. Then Wolf enters and welcomes Anit and apologizes to Sensei for what happened. Sensei replies, you need to reconsider your failure in properly ending my life. But I got to experience being close to death again, so thanks for that. Aisha explains that the country is at war with one of the Demon King's 7 killers. Matilda tells her, I defeated one of them in Gryan. Everyone is surprised, and Wolf doesn't believe her. Matilda gets angry and says, don't underestimate me. Our group is very strong, and Sensei has the power to return people from other worlds back to theirs. Wolf replies, I know that, and the governor took interest in it, but I don't think we'll need that power. No matter what ability they come with, it's useless against my magic, and he leaves. When Sengoku returns to the Demon King's palace, they tell him, we didn't expect you to be forced to retreat. He says, no problem, I'll join the battle myself tomorrow. But they reply, actually, we were thinking of changing tactics and leaving it to Yuriko. She knows the storm mage well. Then they ask her, ready, Angel of Greed? Meanwhile, Sensei and Milos are walking through the city and see Wolf surrounded by people who admire him. Sensei decides to follow him until he reaches a door and knocks, but the person inside doesn't open. Wolf says, you don't want to see me today either? In that case, listen, the war will continue tomorrow, but I promise I'll come back alive. Sensei decides not to hear the rest and walks away. The next day, the war starts again, and the clash between the dwarves and lizards intensifies. Wolf uses his wind magic and supports the dwarves from the top of the wall. Suddenly, they see a dragon in the sky approaching, and the dragon releases a massive amount of energy onto the battlefield. Wolf thinks the rider is Sengoku, Angel of Misery, and charges his energy with full confidence because it's not the first time he's killed a dragon. But Doreen sees Yuriko and tells Wolf that the rider is an Angel of Misery. The moment Wolf sees Yuriko, his body freezes in shock. Yuriko lands in front of him and says, "It's been a long time, my teacher." He asks her in confusion, "Why?" A black hand comes out of Yuriko and grabs him. She touches Aisha too with that dark energy, and Aisha feels weak and drops to the ground. Yuriko takes Wolf and leaves. Aisha gets up with difficulty and tells Doreen to withdraw from battle. Then she returns to the others and tells them what happened and that they headed toward Drayton School. She wonders what Yuriko meant by my teacher. Doreen is furious about what happened and can't accept that the lizards won the battle and that the fortress is about to fall under their control. Sensei thinks that Wolf must have a complicated past, so he goes to the door he saw Wolf at and thinks that whoever is behind the door must know something about him. He knocks and says, "Can I ask you a few questions about Wolf?" An old woman comes out of the house. Meanwhile, Wolf wakes up and finds himself in front of Drayton School, and Yuriko tells him, "This place is full of memories for us." The guards see them and gather around. They ask Yuriko who she is and demand she release Wolf. Her hands emerge and wipe them all out. At the same time, Aisha tells the others, "The girl we saw might be Wolf's student. He was more passionate than anyone about training people from other worlds. But one day he suddenly stopped." Matilda asks, "Is that girl the reason?" Aisha replies, "I don't know. Either way, rescuing Wolf is our top priority," and asks Doreen to send the troops immediately. Doreen replies, "I want to, but there are no more spare soldiers." So Matilda and Anit decide to step in. They notice that Sensei is missing. At that moment, he walks in carrying the old woman, and everyone is shocked. The next day, Matilda, Near, and Anit prepare to go rescue Wolf. Sensei tells them, "Wait, I ordered something and it hasn't arrived yet." Doreen tells him, "What you asked for is very special and confused the craftsman, so it's not ready yet." They also have another problem. By the time they cross the desert and arrive, they'll be too exhausted to fight. Suddenly, they hear someone say, "Need help?" Toro emerges from underground with his scorpion, kneels in front of them, and says he's changed and isn't here to fight. He now runs a bus company by day and protects the orphanage by night. They're confused about what he means by buses. Toro jumps on a passing tiger and uses his power to turn it into an actual bus. They all board, but he refuses to let Sensei on and speeds off with the rest. Then the old woman grabs Sensei's hand and says, "Please, take me to Wolf," and he sees a strange determination in her eyes. He says, "I'm tired of people chasing their loved ones and ignoring reason and logic and not caring about disturbing others. But this will lead to the seed of a beautiful story." On the other side, the rest arrive and see the guards on the ground under the effect of Yuriko's magic. Aisha tells Anit, "Don't touch any of them, we'll heal them later." When they enter the school, they find Wolf suspended by magic and Yuriko sitting on a chair in front of him. Yuriko introduces herself and says, "I came from another world and was taught by Wolf. Now they call me the Angel of Greed." Then she says, "This time is mine and Wolf's, don't interrupt," and skeletons with armor and swords rise from the ground. The battle begins, and Wolf asks Yuriko to stop what she's doing. She reminds him, "Didn't you once tell me, never retreat from your enemy?" The fight continues, and each time they defeat the skeletons, Yuriko summons more. She says the fight will go on until they collapse. Aisha asks her, "What happened between you and Wolf? He was a passionate and skilled teacher, you shouldn't have a reason to hate him." Yuriko remembers when Wolf was teaching her to use her plant decaying ability against the Demon King, but he told her, "As I expected, your ability isn't suited for combat. But facing the Demon King isn't necessary, you can live a normal life in this world." But she refused and said, "As long as this world wishes for the Demon King's destruction, I'll fight." Wolf praised her and admired her determination, saying, "I'm sure your ability will blossom one day, but don't overwork yourself." Yuriko tells Aisha, "He was a good teacher indeed. The days I dedicated myself to training and the breaks I took were all good for me, until the day another girl from another world appeared. After that, Wolf changed toward me because of her genius talent, which kept him busy teaching her and made him give me no attention. Still, I kept training to defeat the Demon King, and also so Wolf would notice me. But one day I heard him tell the other girl, 'You will be the hero who defeats the Demon King. I've been waiting for you.'" Yuriko felt she was useless in this world too, just like the old world she came from. Ironically, that was when her power bloomed, and she made a black hole in the ground that swallowed the girl. She tells Aisha, "If that hadn't happened that day, my power would have remained sealed forever. So I can say my teacher shaped me the right way. I killed an incandescent girl while consumed by desire, and in the end, I stopped being human." Yuriko withdraws the skeletons and replaces them with a huge dark monster. Wolf shouts, "Run away from here now." The last thing Yuriko says is, "I want everyone to die." Suddenly, Sensei arrives with the vehicle the craftsman made for him, with a coffin he can sleep in. He laughs and says, "Sorry, were you doing something important?" He gets closer to Wolf and says, "You really are alike." He calls Milos, who enters carrying the old woman. Wolf is shocked the moment he sees her. Yuriko is surprised too and asks her, "Are you Hikari?" Then Sensei says to Yuriko, "I've just finished your little sister's story, now it's your turn. I heard your story from your sister on the way, how you were a close family of 3, and that your sister was sick since childhood, and you stayed beside her and cared for her." Hikari continues, "She was also excited for high school but could barely go." Yuriko tries to silence her, but Sensei says, after I heard your story, your kindness touched me. You're just like a great mother. Yuriko gets angry and summons the skeletons again, surrounding Sensei with swords. Matilda and the others move and destroy them. Sensei continues, I'm a writer and can't die before finishing your story. Hikari tries to talk to her, but Yuriko silences her and says, you don't know anything. I'm not a kind big sister. In fact, I always hated you. You stole my youth from me. That's why I was happy when I came to this world and thought my life was finally changing. But then you appeared and took everything from me again. I decided I wouldn't let you stand in my way anymore. I'm greedy, and I'll take everything I want. Sensei steps closer and asks her, is that really what you want? She gets mad at him and makes her monster attack with its scythe. Wolf quickly saves him and takes the hit instead, getting affected by the magic and his body drained. Yuriko feels guilty, and Wolf apologizes for not understanding her feelings. Sensei says, wait, don't get involved. This love story I want to write doesn't include you. Stay where you are. He steps closer to Yuriko again and says, let's continue. What do you really want? She makes the skeletons cut him, but he doesn't care and keeps approaching. He says, I'm a writer. I want to write your real feelings. The skeletons vanish, and she says, the trees were blooming that day. It was my graduation day. She remembers watching her classmates through the window as they walked with their families. When she called her father, he didn't care and tied a hairband for Hikari and focused more on her. Then he left for work and made her stay with Hikari, who was sleeping, to take care of her. She felt jealous of her classmates and decided to wear the school uniform and Hikari's hairband to go to school and celebrate alone. When she returned to the hospital, she found her dad talking to the doctor. She asked, what happened? And he slapped her, saying, you think this is a game playing outside? Your sister almost died because of you. He tore the hairband off her head and threw it on the ground. She looked at her sister, who was clearly in pain, with nurses trying to save her. Then their dad rushed to her and gave Yuriko no attention. Yuriko walked out, heartbroken, and then got hit by the car that brought her to this world. She tells Sensei, I just wanted to be seen more, but that desire nearly killed my sister, and I did the same thing in this world. I'm not a caring big sister. I'm greedy and bad. Sensei replies, you wanted someone to see you, huh? There's no human in this world who doesn't want that. You're not greedy. You're a sweet and a little strange girl. Hikari hugs her and apologizes for not realizing all of that. Then Sensei asks Yuriko, do you know why your sister came to this world? We go back in time. When Hikari woke up from the coma and didn't find Yuriko, she waited for days, but Yuriko never came. She lost hope in a world without her sister, left, and was hit by a car that brought her here. We return to the present, and Yuriko cries after learning how much her sister loves her. Sensei adds, and even though she's an old woman now, she came all this way just to see you. At that moment, Wolf realizes he was a failed teacher. He remembers when Hikari appeared in this world, and Yuriko ran to her scared, asking about her illness, only to find Hikari much better and able to move freely. Afterward, Hikari asked Wolf to train her to fight the Demon King and let Yuriko live freely. When he asked her why, she said, I stole my sister's life, so I want her to enjoy herself in this world. Sensei's book activates, and its pages spin around Yuriko and Hikari, and he tears out a page from the book. Yuriko's dark monster vanishes, Hikari returns to her youthful form, the guards under the magic wake up, and all the withered flowers bloom again. Yuriko apologizes to everyone for the trouble she caused and thanks Wolf for everything he did for her. She and her sister return to their world. Hikari wakes up and finds Yuriko opening the window and telling her, I had a weird dream, you'll laugh if I tell you. Hikari replies, tell me, we've got plenty of time anyway. And they live happily ever after. On the other side, the lizards retreat from the battle against the dwarves, and at the same time, one of the school heads tells the ruler that the attack on Samstag Castle has stopped, and they believe it's because of the power Aisha talked about. The ruler is amazed and says, I think this is really the person we've been waiting for, the world savior. Meanwhile, Sensei is staring at the school ceiling and says, looks like a guest has arrived, and suddenly Sengoku, the angel of misery, enters. He tells them, you defeated Kaibara, the angel of gluttony, and now the angel of greed. I think I need to end all of this myself. Wolf uses wind magic and creates a massive tornado, but it doesn't affect him because his shield is magic resistant. Then Toro jumps on him from behind with his ability and tries to turn him into a cart, but it also doesn't affect him. Matilda charges at him with her new King Fong technique. He tells her, your technique is amazing but you still lack experience, and breaks her magic circle. Just before he slashes her with his sword, Nier leaps in and blocks it with his father's sword, and the surprise is that Sengoku's sword breaks. Sengoku smiles and says to Nier, improve your skills, kid, and then leaves. Everyone praises Nier and calls him a brave hero. Meanwhile, at night, the dwarves celebrate their victory in front of the lizards, and Aisha tells Wolf she's happy the sisters got a happy ending. Wolf replies, I don't know, but they were unhappy in their original world, and I think they were happy here. Are we really doing the right thing? Meanwhile, a girl walks among the lizards' corpses outside the castle heading toward the gate. Sensei and Milos are walking down the hallway, and suddenly the girl passes by them. Sensei is shocked and freezes, then turns around and says, "Sachan." Without looking, she replies, "I'm glad I saw you again, Sensei." When she turns, Sensei is overjoyed and says, "I'm so happy you're okay. I have so much to tell you," and grabs her hand, saying, "But first, let's die together." He leads her to the window and says, "We definitely won't fail if we jump from this height." But Sachan pulls her hand away and says, "You've changed a lot since the last time I saw you. There's a strange light in your eyes. And you're more lively. You're not the sensei I know." He replies, "No, I haven't changed at all. I was just roaming around like a sewer rat." Anit and the others appear, and Sachan tells him, "You found something better than death in this world, and I can't be with you anymore." She leaves, and he says, "Wait, Sachan." When Anit hears the name, she's shocked that this is the girl they started the journey to find. The next day, they're at the blacksmith's, who is making them new weapons as gifts. Sensei is very flustered, pacing in circles because of what Sachan told him and upset by the word lively. He eats a large amount of drugged beans. Then Nier shows the blacksmith his sword to examine why it broke Sengoku's weapon. The blacksmith tells him, "This weapon is too great for you, but you can become a warrior worthy of it someday." Suddenly, Sensei gets into the vehicle the blacksmith made for him. The blacksmith warns him the engine is powerful and could kill him if he's not careful. So Sensei decides to die with it and speeds off at full force. Matilda and the others chase after him, but he's too fast. Meanwhile, in the Demon King's palace, Sachan enters and joins the meeting. They say, "We were 7 and now we're 5. Sachan replies, "All you do is lock yourself up here and watch what happens outside. A lazy person like you shouldn't be talking." He laughs and says, "I can't argue with you," then asks, "How was your reunion with your lover?" Sachan answers, "He has a power that could truly change this world, brilliant as always, and that's what makes him right for me." He replies, "As expected of our proud queen." Meanwhile, the group reaches a village called Hild. One of the villagers tells them Sensei already passed through and is heading toward the Demon King's palace. He shows them a statue they made of Sensei fighting the Demon King. Matilda mocks it because the statue looks like it's running away from the Demon King. The villager explains the statue was originally facing the Demon King, but when Sensei passed by, he accidentally bumped it, making it face the other way like it's fleeing. He tells them he entered a cave on the village's edge, and that cave is the only entrance to Orange, a forbidden land where the fairy queen lives. But he assures them no one can enter Orange unless they pass the trials. Meanwhile, Sensei is in the cave and hears a voice in his head saying, "You're on your way to receive the queen's protection, but the trials are very hard and you won't pass them, you better turn back." Sensei replies, "Don't talk in my head," and enters his coffin. He passes the giant ogre in charge of the strength trial, breaks the statue of the intelligence trial, and clears the spirit trial. Meanwhile, the villager reassures them that Sensei won't be able to pass the trials and will be back soon. At the same time, a portal opens before Sensei and pulls him in. He finds himself flying in front of the fairy queen in the land of Orange. The queen says, "I am Oberus. I grant my protection to whoever reaches this place. Your duty is to accept my protection and bring peace to the world." She asks him, "Which do you think is more important, trust in others or absolute power?" Sensei replies, "The one I trusted abandoned me. I want to die and don't care about this world's safety after losing Sachan." She tells him, "There was a man before you who people called a hero. He reached this land and received my protection, but failed to bring peace. Now the world is in more chaos. The elves in the north are watching the world, and 7 humans from another world defeated the Demon King. Now countless people from other worlds have arrived, blurring the line between good and evil. There's no one left with a pure and just heart. I don't think your presence here is a coincidence. The world brought you here." She holds his hand and says, "You and your lover will meet again at the end of your journey. I won't ask you to save the world, but just live a little longer and keep going." She gives him a whistle. If anything happens, he can blow it and the fairies will protect him. She sends him back, and at the same time, Anit is very worried about him. Nier wonders if Sensei will continue the journey after being rejected by his lover. Anit gets frustrated and says, "I don't want our journey to end here." Suddenly, Sensei crashes his vehicle onto the statue, breaking it, and says, "Sorry for worrying you." The villager gets upset because of the statue, so Sensei whistles and summons a fairy named Sololo and asks her, "Can you fix the statue?" The fairy is annoyed that he summoned her for something so trivial. The queen opens a portal, and Sololo is shocked and asks her, "When you told him the fairies would give him their power, did you mean me?" The queen replies, "Good luck, do your best," and closes the portal. In the end, the world's fate now lies in Sensei's hands, and he continues the journey with Anit, Matilda, and Nier.